I've been on this path of discovery, entrepreneurship for as long as I can remember, really. Discovery, I guess, was the first step, and that led me towards a life of becoming my own boss and running my own business. So yeah, that took me down this path of trying to figure out what it is that I'm passionate about, pursuing my passion and trying to discover and find what is that passion in life. At first, I thought it was the mighty buck. I thought that it came success meant was measured by the amount of money that I could make. So I pursued a career and started a business in financial services and built up an agency. We had over 100 advisors and ran a Desjardins franchise. Did that for a few years and had a lot of fun with it, but kind of got burnt out. And in order to cope with that, I think emotional burnout that I was feeling, I would drink a lot, and I would kind of distract myself from how I was feeling inside with drinking and friends and traveling and shopping, and became a little addicted to my credit card. And so, yeah, did a lot of that for the years that I was in finance, and realized that I was basically just chasing my tail, running around in circles and not getting anywhere fast. So I burnt out and left that. And then that put me on a new path and kind of got me back on this pursuit of truth. Really, I became aligned with who I really am, which is a truth seeker. Wanting to know, what is my real purpose here? I know it's not in material. There's got to be something more to life than just chasing the mighty buck or chasing the next adventure. So this put me on a path of becoming a truth seeker that allowed me to really dive into different philosophies and teachings. And I stumbled across one that is called MBT, which stands for My Big Theory. And it's a model that's created through a consciousness researcher and physicist called Thomas Campbell. He's created this theory of everything, which is something that a lot of great physicists have tried to do. I mean, Einstein was the first one to create the theory of relativity. And then he discovered quantum mechanics, which didn't mesh with his theory of relativity. So he spent the last 20 years of his life trying to create a unified field theory, of which he failed, he couldn't do. Now fast forward to the era that we live in today, and this Tom Campbell has been able to create that. And so I definitely resonate a lot with what he says, because not only has it given me a big picture understanding of why I'm here, but it also helps me to navigate my world, my reality, and align with my true purpose, which I feel is to become love and to basically work together here, to learn. We're here all to learn how to work together.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So in your description of what you talk about the subconscious. Can you explain what that is to people that might not know?
Yeah, absolutely. So the subconscious, this model was created by Sigmund Freud, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he made this very well known that most of us, he says, everyone has a healthy ego, and we all have a subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is something that we're unaware of. It's basically, it's our programming, it's our blueprint, and it determines how we act, how we carry out our day-to-day activities, how we show up in the world. It's all driven through our subconscious mind, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you're familiar with the iceberg analogy. Yeah. So it's an iceberg is like 90% of it is submerged in water, and we only see the 10% of it. Well, it's the same thing with us human beings and our psyche, is that 90% of us we are unaware of, and only 10% of us we can actually see. And so psychologists refer to this as the 90% that's submerged. That's our subconscious mind. We're only aware of the 10%, which is our ego. Right? So that's kind of a rough idea of what the subconscious is.
Absolutely. That makes so much sense, because a lot of what, I mean, I see people that aren't conscious at all, just reacting, and that's their subconscious mind just acting out of whatever they think they are, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So what exactly is psycho-cybernetics? I read that and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, so Psycho-Cybernetics, this was a book that was written, decades and decades ago. It was written by a gentleman who was basically brand new to the whole personal development industry. And it was kind of the first book that was written on personal development that really stuck. And through this book, other personal development gurus like Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, they have modeled this, they've copied this, and they've implemented it into their teachings as well. Okay, and so the very basic understanding of psycho-cybernetics is, if you know what a cybernetic mechanism is, and it'll help you understand the whole concept. So a cybernetic mechanism is an example of that would be like a thermostat on your wall. Okay, so a thermostat on your wall, you basically, you set it to a certain temperature, and then that temperature is going to be its new set point, right? So if you set it to, I don't know, let's say 20 degrees, and it gets really hot, then what's going to happen is you're going to have these mechanisms that come on, turn on your fans, and then bring you back to that set point, which is 20 degrees. If it gets too cold, it's going to put on the heaters and it's going to warm it up so that it gets to 20 degrees. But you're always going to go back to that set point. So what this book is saying is that we all have a psycho-cybernetic set point, which is who we really are. It's how we feel about ourselves. It's who we think and believe that we are. So for example, if I have a psycho-cybernetic set point that I'm Vanessa, and I'm just gonna use weight because it's an easy one. I'm Vanessa and I'll always be 170 pounds, let's say, which is, if you look at the BMI scale, which is above the average BMI, right? So according to society, it's not a healthy weight for my. Okay, so if that's my psycho-cybernetic set point, 170 pounds, now I can go on the best of diets, I can hire personal trainers, I can go on fast cleanses, and I can lose 10, 20 pounds, and I'll feel good while I do that. But because I haven't changed anything at that psycho-cybernetic set point, what's going to happen is the unconscious mechanisms are going to turn on, and all of a sudden I'm going to be eating Haagen-Dazs in my PJs, stop going to the gym, and these things are going to happen that's going to put me back at my set point, which is 170 pounds. So all my behaviors are futile unless I can actually make change happen at that set point.
Yeah, I heard T. Harv Eker talk about this too when it comes to your money and your income. Is that we have that set point where we believe that's how much money we can make. And that's why when people win the lottery, they blow it all right away because they can only be at that set point and they're doing nothing about the limiting beliefs that hold them at that set point.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely understand that concept a lot. And it's all about those limiting beliefs, right?
Yeah, that's a really good example.
Yeah. So talk to me about fear and self-sabotage and how that ties in.
Yeah, absolutely. So another model that I've looked at, so again, we're coming back to this MBT model. I love the way that it describes fear and how it ties into the subconscious, because most of my journey has been, okay, I want to make a change and I understand that I need to make this change at the subconscious level. So how do I do that? How do I change myself at the subconscious level? Especially if I can't even see it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. So there's all these different tools and techniques. There's like EFT, which I've tried, muscle testing, affirmations. There's just so many different types that you can try. For me, though, I'm very logical, and I need to understand something. It has to make logical sense for me to jump into it. I can't just make myself believe. I don't have that blind faith. So researching a lot of these different modalities, I then came across this MBT, and I really like the explanation of this because it makes it very, very simple and easy to understand the subconscious mind. Okay, so fear. What is fear? A lot of us understand the acronym false evidence appearing real, right? So I get that. It's fear is like a paper tiger. It's like not actually real, and yet it feels very real. So the subconscious mind, how does that tie into fear? Well, this theory, MBT, says that everything in your subconscious is simply, it's your fear. It's all your fear that's swept under the rug that you don't want to look at. So rather than looking at it, owning it, and acknowledging it, we just simply call it our subconscious and don't deal with it. And then it drives us. Then it's basically the mechanism that drives us. It motivates us to do things in very unconscious ways, and we're not aware of, right? So a good example of this would be a major fear that a lot of us have that a lot of us don't want to admit is the fear of not being good enough, right? That fear of inadequacy. And I think that is a fundamental fear, because if you look at other fears like the fear of rejection, the fear of success even is one for a lot of people, that all ties back to, well, if I get rejected, then that's going to mean that I'm not good enough, that I'm unworthy, right? If I am successful, well, I actually don't deserve it because I'm not good enough. So
it all ties back.
Yeah. So this fear of not being good enough, if we don't address it, if we don't own it, it's going to be playing in the background, playing in our subconscious mind all the time until we actually take a look at it and deal with it. So we're going to project until we can actually own it. And a good example of that too is, let's say somebody says something to me or does something to me, and I interpret that to be a rude comment. Like somebody might look at me and say, oh, you're wearing that today? Oh, okay, cool. Okay, now I have two options. I could respond with love, or I can respond with fear. Like you were saying, if we're just on this reactive mode, then I'm gonna be like, what a bitch. Oh my God, did you see the way she looked at me? Right? That's reactive, and it's not actually taking ownership. But if I were then to take ownership, that would look like, oh, she's making fun of what I'm wearing today. I can feel this insecurity coming up. That's my insecurity because I don't feel good about myself. I'm not going to call her a bitch. That's actually something I need to work on within myself. So that's what it looks like to take ownership of it. That's step one. But most of us don't live there. Most of us just project and blame everybody else for our own feelings, right? We can't move forward until we can actually own our shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Awareness is everything. When you actually know what you're doing and being conscious about it rather than just reacting all the time, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. So I asked this question of everybody. What is being a well-balanced solopreneur? What does that mean to you?
Okay, what does being a well-balanced solopreneur mean to me? What does it mean to me? It means having the sense of peace and joy that permeates my day-to-day activities. Really being present and in the moment. I don't really separate my work from my life. My work is my life, and I feel like it's like Gandhi, right? My life is my message. Not that I'm Gandhi, I'm far from it, but I'm just saying, he's a mentor, someone to look up to, and I think that's what I'd strive to be like, is someone who kind of talks the talk, you know, like this is how I am, this is who I am, and really just leading by example. So a balanced solopreneur is somebody that leads by example.
Awesome. I love that answer. So if people wanted to find you online, follow you, stalk you, you know, the thing, where did they find you?
Yeah, lowentropy.ca is our website. And then we have a Facebook page. So we're usually posting daily posts on there. We got a little team, but we don't really have any rhyme or reason to it. We kind of post when we feel inspired to do so. So yeah, it's just Low Entropy. That's the Facebook name as well.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Vanessa. I appreciate it. And I hope you had some fun.
I did, Cindy. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.